This video shows the last post related to shape customization. Another type of customization was added for shapes themselves as a proof of concept. These customization shows a combination of highlighting and blurring and graying for our shapes in case we want to emphasize a specific shape/shapes when the data is pivoted. I tried to add some option to chart data while user choose specific options, in my case, count of or sum of, but this requires more modifications and tests, hence I decided to not include it yet. For example, if user wants to chart only count of CPU usage, it cannot choose the labels on the chart and choose option like chart it, followed by choosing another label and chart it, and so on. It can be done, but requires too many modifications for time being. Another thing that is shown is saving and loading report to disk. There are some errors which are happening in specific cases, but for the time being, I haven't stressed the loading and saving of the report to cover all the scenarios. To put it in perspective, the charting control started with a single class having a single property, and the code grew to what is today based on what I needed to implement. This means that new things were created in order to not rewrite from scratch the code written up to that point. 6 years ago, when I started writing this control, I didn't know that I will end up adding grouping for multiple columns or coloring or any other options that are available today. Hence, whenever a new option is added, features like saving report to disk or loading it from disk needs to be adjusted in order to take into account the new feature. For example, until last week, the saving report to disk was not saving any chart formatting when it comes to labels, colors, and font style, which meant that in order to save that information, I had to write new code and insert it appropriately in the application flow. If you look, you can see that after loading the report from disk, I am not drawing the borders of the last chart, but all the information displayed in the data grid or the format chart control shows the information for that chart. Similar to this, there are other places where small touches can mean a lot from the user experience point of view. For example, Power BI display chart border on mouse over and chart corners on mouse click, while I am displaying both of them on mouse click. The point I'm trying to make is that anything new that I would like to add to make it more user-friendly or to match Power BI or Tableau requires more than 5 minutes to implement it and test it, and requires knowledge about the application flow. The good thing about this is that every day, or sometimes 2-3 times per day, I am taking a backup of how the application code, which means that it will be very easy for someone to build the application and see gradually how it went from 4 years ago to what is today. This means that the application can be a playground for all DBAs that want to see how something like this grow over time. This can be used also by software companies as refactoring playground or by developer teachers to use it as baseline for pinpointing problems and how to solve them and so on. It can also teach junior developers about technical debt using real application. As mentioned in other posts, this application is not valuable only because it helps you managing your SQL Server and consuming data from different repositories, but also because it can give DevOps team a playground, an application they can mess with locally while attempting to improve it or understand it.